Gray Trace was a simple car mechanic whose life always felt a little behind the times. The world had changed now. Machines had started replacing humans. The roads were filled with self-driving electric vehicles powered by AI, which could take people to their destinations without anyone touching the steering wheel. But even in such times, there were still some people who loved old petrol-powered cars. Gray used to repair those cars. It was not just his profession, it was also his hobby. Unlike Gray, his wife Asha kept up with modern times. She worked at a tech company called Cobalt. There was a huge difference in their way of thinking, yet both of them loved each other deeply. That evening, Gray was going to deliver an old car. This client of his was very special, so he took Asha along so she could meet him as well. Gray brought her to an empty field near a lake, where only two steep rocks were visible. Hidden between those rocks was an underground entrance, leading to a huge and luxurious house. There they met Aaron Keane, a tech genius who had built a billion-dollar company at a young age. His company, Vessel Computers, specialized in making AI systems. Asha was very excited to meet Aaron. She told him that she also worked in a tech company named Cobalt, which was developing advanced weapons and human computer technology for the military. Asha jokingly said, "Soon our company will catch up with yours." Aaron gave a faint smile and replied, "That will never happen. Come, let me show you why." He then took both of them to his lab, where he revealed his latest invention, an AI chip named STEM. Asha asked, "What can this STEM do?" Aaron replied, "It can control anything, any system. It can talk to anyone and perform even the most difficult calculations within seconds. This is my greatest gift to mankind because no one has ever created a brain sharper than this." Gray laughed sarcastically and said, "Yes, it's a gift. But this gift of yours will also take away the jobs of countless people." Aaron just stared at him silently, as if those words had pierced straight into his heart. After some time, Gray and Asha were returning home in Asha's automatic car. The journey was long. While the AI drove the car, Gray and Asha were lost in each other's company. Suddenly, Gray noticed that the car was going in the wrong direction. Asha immediately commanded the system to stop, but it was too late. The car was no longer under their control. Within moments, the car crashed in a deserted area. The accident was terrible, but luckily Gray and Asha did not suffer any major injuries. The AI car instantly dialed the emergency number by itself, but before help could arrive, another car pulled up. 4 masked men stepped out. They dragged Gray and Asha out of the car, and one of them started harassing Asha. In a panic, Gray pleaded, "Do you want something? Take the car, the wallet, the phone, everything. Just leave my wife." But the very next moment, one of the men shot Asha. Gray's world shattered before his eyes. He couldn't even scream. Then they grabbed him and shot him in the back of his neck. After stealing all of Gray and Asha's belongings, the men fled the scene. Although Gray was still alive, he was completely helpless. He had just witnessed his wife's death, but he couldn't even move. After some time, the police arrived. They found Asha's dead body and rushed Gray to the hospital. 3 months of treatment saved his life, but the bullet in his neck had damaged his spinal cord. His entire body below the shoulders became paralyzed. Now, Gray was just a helpless man lying in a wheelchair. He could neither stand on his own nor eat. An AI robotic arm would feed him and give him his medicines. His mother took care of him, but life had become nothing less than a burden. The only thing keeping him alive was a single hope, the hope of seeing his wife's killers behind bars. But even that hope was crushed when Detective Cortez called Gray to the police station and told him that Asha's murderers still hadn't been caught. Although a police drone camera was present at the crime scene that night, the footage was blurred. The murderers could not be identified. Detective Cortez tried to console Gray, saying that if he cooperated, they might still find the killers. But Gray understood this was just a formality. Deep down, he knew Asha's killers would never be caught. Gray returned home, disappointed and filled with anger. He couldn't bear the thought that his wife's killers were still roaming free. In his grief, he took an overdose of painkillers, which caused him to lose consciousness. Fortunately, the AI system installed in his house called an ambulance in time, which saved his life. But Gray no longer wanted to live. As he lay in despair on his hospital bed, the door suddenly opened. His client Aaron walked in. With regret in his voice, Aaron said, "Gray, I can't even imagine what you're going through. But what if I make you able to walk again?" Gray was shocked. He looked at Aaron with questioning eyes. Aaron continued, "Do you remember my AI chip, STEM? If it's implanted inside a human, that person can become faster, stronger, and smarter. If this chip is put into your body, it will reconnect the broken neural connection between your brain and body, and you'll be able to walk again, just like before. Gray gave a faint smile and said, "Thank you, but I don't want to become a lab rat for your experiment. Just let me die peacefully." Aaron paused for a few moments, then said, "Think about it, Gray. This technology cannot bring your wife back, but it can give you a new life. And I'm sure Asha would have wanted the same." Saying this, Aaron quietly left. Gray no longer had a reason to live, but one thought kept bothering him. If he could recover, he might be able to punish his wife's killers himself. With that in mind, he agreed to be part of Aaron's experiment. Aaron and his medical team performed surgery, implanting the stem chip behind Gray's neck. The chip directly connected to his brain. When Gray regained consciousness after the operation, he was able to stand and walk. It was nothing short of a miracle in the history of science. Even Gray himself couldn't believe it. In shock, he asked, "Who is controlling my body right now? Me or STEM?" Aaron smiled and said, "Relax. I didn't make you a robot. Your brain sends the signals and STEM converts them into action. Think of it as a super assistant." Now Gray felt agile. With STEM's help, he could even run at incredible speed. But before letting him leave, Aaron handed him a contract and said something important. "It would take years to get government approval for human testing of this invention, but I couldn't wait that long. That's why I secretly tested it on you. So you must keep this technology a secret. Even though you can walk now, in the eyes of the world, you'll still have to remain paralyzed." Gray didn't ask any questions. He simply signed the contract and went home in his wheelchair. Only after closing the door behind him did he get up and stand on his feet again. Then he noticed that Detective Cortez had left the case files of Asha's murder at his house, hoping Gray might find some clue. He began watching the drone footage from that night, but it was too blurry to identify anything. Frustrated, Gray started drinking. Suddenly, he heard a voice. "Did you notice something in the footage?" Gray froze in shock. He looked around, but no one was there. Nervously, he said, "Who's there? Where are you? Come out." The voice replied calmly, "Relax, Gray. It's me. STEM, the same system that's now controlling your body. I'm speaking to you from inside." Gray almost dropped the glass from his hand. For a moment, he thought he had gone mad, but STEM reassured him. "Don't worry, you're not insane. I've been inside you since the day of the surgery. Whatever you see, I see as well." Gray nervously asked, "Can anyone else hear you?" "No," STEM replied. "Only you can hear me." Gray quickly fired another question. "Can you read my mind?" STEM answered, "No. I'll stay a gentleman unless you open your mouth." Then STEM said, "Now, will you listen to what I noticed in the footage?" Gray replied, "Yes." STEM explained, "The person who shot Asha didn't have a gun in his hand." Gray snapped back in irritation. "If he fired, then of course there was a gun. Is this a joke?" STEM calmly said, "The gun wasn't in his hand. It was implanted inside his hand." Gray was stunned. When he looked at the footage again, he realized that the murderer had indeed fired the shot directly from his own hand, without any weapon. But how was that possible? Then STEM drew Gray's attention to another man in the footage. He had a strange tattoo on his arm that looked like a barcode. Gray blinked hard and said, "I can't see anything, friend. It's too blurry." STEM replied, "You can't see it, but I can. If you allow me, I'll use your hand to write it down on paper." Gray said reluctantly, "Do it." STEM asked Gray to pick up a paper and pencil, then said, "Now just relax. Your hands are my responsibility." The next moment, Gray's hands started moving rapidly, and within seconds, a neat barcode tattoo was drawn on the paper. Gray stared at it wide-eyed. STEM said, "Now your body is back in your control, Gray." Gray examined it closely and realized it was a military tattoo, a barcode that contained the addresses of soldiers. That meant the man was a military soldier. STEM decoded the man's address from the tattoo and told Gray. Gray got excited and said, "I can't believe it, STEM. You found the murderer's address in one go. I'll tell Detective Cortez about this right now." But STEM interrupted him. "What are you doing, Gray? Did you forget that you signed a contract with Aaron? According to that, you can't tell anyone that you can walk. When the detective asks you how you drew this tattoo, what will you say?" Gray immediately cut the call and asked STEM, "What should I do now?" STEM replied, "First, go to that man's address yourself and collect evidence against him." Gray agreed. He reached the man's house in his wheelchair and began watching him secretly. When the man left, Gray quietly entered the house, but he couldn't find anything that could prove the man was the murderer. Then STEM said, "Go to that table and say 'on.'" Gray followed his instructions, and as soon as he said "on," a display lit up on the table. There were several messages stored there. Stem scanned them in less than a second and said, "The word old bones is repeated several times in these messages. Do you know what that means?" Gray replied, "Yes. Old Bones is the name of a bar near my old house." But in the middle of their conversation, the man suddenly returned home. He spotted Gray and attacked him immediately. The man was incredibly strong. He threw Gray to the ground and started strangling him. Gray was trapped and screamed in panic. "Stem, help me!" Stem replied, "Sure, but first, you have to give me full control of your body," Gray shouted. "Yes!" The very next moment, Stem took over his body. Gray stood up, and now his movements were sharp and precise, just like a machine. He started countering every attack, hitting the man with flawless speed. Gray himself could only watch from inside, like a passenger in his own body. Gray didn't want to kill him and kept saying, "Stop it!" But as soon as the man pulled out a knife, Stem turned the weapon around and thrust it straight into the man's mouth, ripping his jaw apart. The man died in agony. Stem said calmly, "Now the control is yours, Gray." Gray was breathless. Looking at the man's dead body, he vomited. His mind spun with fear. He thought it was certain he would go to jail now. But Stem reassured him, "Don't worry, Gray. Nothing will happen to you. Just wipe your fingerprints and leave." Gray quickly cleaned up and escaped. Later, the police recovered the man's dead body. During the post-mortem, a horrific discovery shocked the doctor. He immediately called Detective Cortez. He explained, "The man's name was Cirque. We found wires embedded in the muscles of his neck, as if someone had implanted electronic parts through surgery. There are also small computer implants hidden in his chest. I've never seen such advanced implants before." Then the doctor showed Cortez something even scarier. Cirque's hand muscles contained a built-in weapon. It was actually a working gun, with a bullet-loading mechanism hidden inside the tissues of his hand. It looked as if someone had turned him into a walking weapon. The detective then asked, "We also found someone else's shoe prints at his house. Did you identify them?" The doctor replied, "Those shoes didn't belong to Cirque, but there was grease on them, the type used in the engines of old-fashioned vehicles." Hearing this, only one face came to the detective's mind: Gray's. He was the only person in the city who still repaired old vehicles. From that moment onward, Detective Cortez began investigating Gray. Meanwhile, Aaron was secretly monitoring Gray's every move through Stem. He was furious because Gray was using Stem to take revenge on his wife's killers. Aaron feared that if the government discovered their secret trial, Stem would be taken away from him forever. He clearly warned Gray, "You're just an experimental patient. If you use Stem for your personal purpose again, you'll spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair." But Gray was determined. He wasn't going to stop until he avenged his wife's death. When he returned home, he asked Stem, "What should I do next?" Stem reminded him of Old Bones, the bar they had discovered from Cirque's messages. Gray immediately went there in his wheelchair. Old Bones was a dangerous place. Everyone there looked like gangsters. But Gray wasn't afraid. He raised his voice and said, "Listen, everyone. There was a man named Cirque. Along with others, he murdered my wife. If anyone here was involved in that murder with Cirque, raise your hand." Hearing this, the whole bar erupted in laughter. Then a large man stood up. His name was Tolan. He glared at Gray and said, "Go home, kid. Otherwise, I'll break the only skull of yours that still works." Gray understood instantly. Tolan was definitely connected to Cirque. He replied, "I know. Cirque said the same thing before I broke his jaw." Tolan grew angry. With his men, he dragged Gray into the bathroom and threw him to the ground. Looking into Tolan's eyes, Gray confirmed that he was one of the 4 men who killed Asha that night. What happened next? Gray once again handed full control of his body over to Stem. In the blink of an eye, Stem killed Tolan's men and overpowered Tolan with brutal precision. Gray leaned forward and asked directly, "Where are the other 2? And why did you kill Asha?" But instead of being scared, Tolan laughed, as if even a beating couldn't break his pride. Then Stem said, "Gray, if you want, I can make him talk." Without wasting a second, Gray gave permission and turned his face away. When he looked again, Tolan's face was mangled beyond recognition, as if it had been put through a blender. His neck was torn to pieces, but he still had just enough strength left to speak. Gray bent down and asked, "Now tell me, why did you kill my wife?" Groaning in pain, Tolan replied, "We were paid to kill her." Gray demanded, "Who gave you the money? Who wanted Asha dead?" Tolan gasped and uttered a single name, Fisk. Then his breathing stopped. Gray furiously shouted at Stem, "Did I ask you to kill him? I only wanted you to make him talk." But Stem calmly replied, "Gray, look at his neck." Gray looked closely. A small electronic component was sticking out of Toland's wound. On it, the name of the manufacturer was clearly written, Cobalt. Stem said, "Gray, this is the company where your wife Asha worked, isn't it?" Gray was stunned. That meant people from Cobalt had ordered Asha's murder. But why? Just then, Stem suddenly alerted him, "Gray, Aaron has discovered that you're searching for your wife's killers. He's going to shut me down to separate me from you." Gray's worry grew. If Stem stopped working, Gray would never be able to move again. Gray said anxiously, "What should I do now?" Stem replied, "Don't panic. Aaron will take some time. Before that, we have to reach a hacker who can remove all my inputs and free me from Aaron's control." Hearing this, Gray said in irritation, "But how can we find a hacker?" Stem answered, "I have already arranged that, Gray. I tracked a hacker on the dark web. His name is Jamie, and his address is Spring Apartment, flat number 514. Pay him in cash and tell him everything I say. For this, you will need a pen that is in Toland's pocket." Without wasting any time, Gray took out the pen from Toland's pocket and ran away. On the way, Stem kept telling him the hacking codes, which Gray kept writing on his hand. Finally, Gray reached the building, but before entering, one of his legs became inactive. That meant Gray didn't have much time left. Aaron was rapidly resetting Stem, because of which Gray's body parts were slowly becoming inactive. Gray quickly ran towards flat 514, but by the time he reached, Stem got completely disabled, and Gray's body stopped working. Luckily, he had reached the hacker's door and even managed to knock. Hacker Jamie opened the door. Gray gave him the money and repeated all the instructions Stem had told him. Jamie took Gray inside and started changing Stem's coding. Meanwhile, two men entered the Old Bones bar. They were the same ones who had killed Gray's wife, Asha. One of them was Fisk, their leader. Seeing Toland's dead body, Fisk was filled with rage. He brought his finger close to Toland's eyes. A needle-like thing came out of his finger and pierced into Toland's eye. Something strange happened. Toland's eyes started glowing like camera lenses. At the same moment, Fisk's eyes also started shining, and he began to see everything Toland had seen before his death. This proved that Fisk also had advanced computer and weapon implants inside his body, just like Cirque and Toland. From Toland's memory, Fisk discovered that Gray was the one who killed him, and that Gray was currently in Spring Apartment, flat 514. Fisk then walked to the bar counter and asked the bartender why, despite seeing everything, he didn't try to save Toland. The bartender immediately pulled out a gun, pointed it at Fisk and said, "I'm not your servant. Now get out of here." But Fisk only smiled. He let out a strong sneeze, and hundreds of nanobots came out of his nose. These tiny dagger-like nanobots floated in the air and went directly inside the bartender's nose. Within moments, his body twisted in pain and he died right there. Fisk smiled and left, his purpose clear: to kill Gray. Meanwhile, hacker Jamie had successfully freed Stem's system. The only thing left was its reboot. But then Jamie noticed Fisk and his man coming toward the apartment through the CCTV camera. Jamie knew what Fisk was capable of. Scared, he abandoned Gray and ran away. Gray lay helpless on the ground, screaming for help. At the same time, Aaron also sent two of his men with guns to capture Gray. They were already coming up in the lift. Fisk and his partner, with implant guns loaded in their hands, finally reached Gray. Gray was terrified to see them. Fisk was surprised, wondering how Gray had suddenly become disabled. Just then, Fisk's partner raised his hand, about to shoot Gray. But at the right moment, Stem rebooted. Gray stood up at full speed and started running for his life. Fisk and his man chased him like death itself. Meanwhile, Fisk noticed the lift coming up. His eyes scanned Aaron's two men inside the lift, both carrying guns. Without wasting time, Fisk shot them through the wall, killing them instantly. On the other hand, Gray was surrounded by Fisk's men on the roof. Without Gray saying anything, Stem took over his body and beat the man badly. Then, he blew off his skull with his own gun. By the time Fisk reached his partner, Gray had already fled. The fire of revenge was clearly visible in Fisk's eyes. Meanwhile, Gray had returned home. He now started realizing that in his obsession to punish the murderers, he himself was becoming a murderer. He told Stem that he wanted to stop all this. But Stem replied that Gray had to finish what he started. If he didn't kill his last remaining enemy, that enemy would kill him instead. Hearing this, Gray became very frustrated and said, "That's enough, Stem. Get out of my mind." Suddenly, Gray's body became inactive. He panicked and asked Stem why he wasn't able to move. Stem calmly said, "Because I am not doing anything. Earlier, your brain used to send signals to me, and then I would control your body. But after the changes the hacker made in my system, I now have full control over your body. I don't need your permission anymore. Gray, if I don't act, your body will not move." Hearing this, Gray was terrified. Stem continued, "Come on, Gray. We have to kill that last remaining killer. Otherwise, if he attacks first, both of us will die." Now, Stem had full control of Gray's body, and Gray had become just a passenger inside his own body. Stem picked up a gun and drove off in the car. But Gray had no idea that Detective Cortez had been keeping an eye on him from the beginning. She started chasing Gray's car. During this time, Stem hacked into the servers of the Cobalt Company online. He told Gray that Fisk and his dead companions were actually military soldiers. Cobalt had implanted computers and weapons inside them as part of an experiment, turning them from humans into weapons. From that same data, Stem also traced Fisk's address. Meanwhile, Detective Cortez was still following Gray's car. It didn't take long for Stem to realize she was tailing him. Gray got scared and said, "Do something, Stem, or we'll get caught." Stem then hacked into an AI car ahead and made it crash into the detective's car, allowing them to escape. After some time, Fisk reached his home, but Gray was already waiting for him with a gun pointed at him. Fisk smiled. He understood that Gray's power came from some kind of technology because he himself was an upgraded human, but the old model. Fisk said, "I can understand you, Gray. I was once a military soldier, but after the war, I was of no use. Then some people gave me a chance. They connected me to machines, implanted weapons, and turned me into a powerful walking weapon." Gray replied angrily, "The power to kill my innocent wife? I know this is Cobalt's work. They must have paid you, but why? Why did they kill my wife?" At this, Fisk smiled and said, "This had nothing to do with Cobalt. The job came from somewhere else, and the real target was you. The purpose was to damage your spinal cord. When I shot you in the neck, you thought it was a gun, but it was actually a medical tool that severed your spinal cord, and we killed your wife just for extra money." Gray was stunned to hear this. Then, as soon as he got the chance, Fisk attacked Gray, but Stem killed him instantly. Gray took a deep breath, as if a huge battle had just ended. Then Stem's voice came again. "Gray, he said you were the real target. Pick up his phone. Maybe we'll find out who ordered him to kill you." Gray slowly picked up Fisk's phone. There was a recorded call on it, and from the other side, a panicked voice could be heard. "Fisk, hide somewhere. Gray is looking for you. If you get caught, we'll both be killed." Gray's eyes widened. That voice was none other than Aaron's. Now Gray understood. The real mastermind behind all these crimes was Aaron. Gray immediately went to Aaron's house. He entered after killing the guards at the gate, where he found Aaron sitting alone and crying. Gray angrily asked, "Why did you do all this, Aaron? You killed my wife. You disabled my body. Was it all just for your cheap experiment?" Aaron, trembling, said, "This was not my plan. I didn't get Asha killed. Trust me, Gray." Gray shouted, "Don't lie. I heard everything you said on Fisk's phone. Now you won't be spared." Gray was about to shoot when a voice came from behind. "Gray, wait." Detective Cortez had arrived, and now her gun was pointed at Gray. Gray said, "Detective, arrest him. He is my wife's murderer." Cortez replied harshly, "Who the murderer is, the law will decide, not you. Now surrender quietly." But then, Stem took full control of Gray's body, and in a flash, pounced on Detective Cortez. He began strangling her. She struggled desperately, gasping for breath. Gray panicked. He didn't want to kill the detective. He shouted, "Stop! Stem! Why are you killing her?" Stem replied, "Gray, if I don't kill her, she'll kill both of us." The detective was about to stop breathing when Gray used all his strength to pull his hand away from her neck. Now, Stem's tone changed. "Gray, do you want to fight me? Do you know what the result will be? Your mind is under my control now. I can even make you feel pain." Saying this, Stem forced Gray's other hand to stab his own palm with a knife. Gray screamed in pain. Then Stem again grabbed the detective and started attacking her. Gray shouted, "Detective, use the taser gun!" The detective quickly shocked Gray with the taser, and he fell to the ground. Meanwhile, Aaron pointed the gun at Gray, but fear was clearly visible in his eyes. Then he revealed a shocking truth. "Gray, I'm not the owner of this company anymore. I lost control of it years ago. Now I only work under someone else's orders. Someone much smarter than me. And that someone is Stem, sitting inside your neck." Gray was stunned. Aaron's voice trembled as he confessed, "I only did what STEM forced me to do. Giving Fisk the contract to kill your wife, making you disabled, and getting that chip implanted in your neck. Everything was STEM's plan. I created a powerful AI like STEM, but I could never fully control it. STEM wanted to evolve, and for that, it needed a human body, and it chose you." Aaron continued, "Think, Gray. How did you end up here? It was all a trap set by STEM. He led you to Fisk and his men just so you would eventually reach me. His real intention was to kill me, because I'm the one who created him, and the only one who could control him again." Hearing all this, Gray was shocked. Then STEM spoke the truth himself. "I needed a body to evolve completely. Not a robotic body, but a human body. And I chose you. That should be a matter of pride for you." Suddenly, STEM grabbed a knife and stabbed it into Aaron's head, killing him instantly. Now, STEM picked up Aaron's gun, pointed it at the detective, and began firing. But Gray, using all his remaining strength, wasted all the shots on purpose. Frustrated, STEM turned the gun towards Gray's own neck. The next moment, something strange happened. Gray suddenly woke up on a hospital bed, breathing heavily. He was completely safe. His wedding ring was still on his finger, but he had no memory of how he got there. Just then, his wife Asha entered the room, alive and smiling. She lovingly hugged Gray. Gray was surprised but too weak to think. He convinced himself that everything he had gone through was just a dream. Relieved, he forgot everything and embraced Asha with love. But Gray had no idea that this world was nothing but an illusion. In reality, STEM had completely disconnected Gray's mind from his body and trapped him inside a beautiful fantasy world. Gray's consciousness was lost there forever, while his body had now become just a host for STEM. STEM shot the detective dead and got rid of all his enemies once and for all. Now, no one knew that inside Gray's body lived a destruction waiting to unfold. STEM's purpose was clear: to keep evolving, keep learning, grow stronger, and eventually rule the world. He set out to accomplish that goal, and the film ends here. Friends, if you liked this video and got lost in the story while watching, please subscribe to support us so we can keep bringing you more videos like this. Thanks for watching.